we're back at it. Working on the Noticon again today. Since all I did was cut that bumper out of my way. I didn't like it. I like it better now. Anyway, we're going to put on Greg's steering box today. Get rid of this factory JK1 and use the one whatever Redneck Ram buys. So, first thing we need to do is get this inner fender well out of here. I'll grab some tools, get working on that. I thought I'd show you guys these shocks since I never really saw them. And these are those Falcon 3.3s. I don't even really know anything about them. They got all these cool knobs on them. Those have got to be good for stuff. There's got to be some sort of rebound and whatnot. It's got, this is also adjustable. Full bypass shock. Yeah, but anyway, we'll get this inner fender well out and I'll get to work. We've got our inner fender well removed. Factory power steering box right here. We're gonna have to disconnect the shaft coming from the steering wheel. Both of the factory power steering hydraulic lines. And then, so this Redneck Ram, this is where it's been drilled and tapped. These are the aftermarket fittings. These are your two factory fittings. This is a Delphi. They must use factory steering boxes, rebuilt or whatever. I don't know what they do to these things. I don't know much about Redneck Ram, except I'm gonna install it on Greg's Jeep. That's as far as my knowledge goes on it. So, we're gonna get that old one off and this one in. Oh, as you can see, I took off Greg's outer fender. These metal cloak fenders. They're the two-piece ones. They're nice. Now you can drive it on the street. I mean, if this was mine though, these would never probably be on here, but you can kind of get away with driving it on the street. That's a pretty big fender. So, get this thing down a little bit, get the power steering fluid drained out of it, and get the lines off in this steering shaft. Here we go. Just about to get this drag link out of Greg's Jeep here. I don't know what these are. They're nice though. They're big. So I see a lot of damaged threads on tie rods from people taking these out. Or you get your pickle fork in here and ruin your boot. And I don't know how everybody else takes these off. Greg, there was no cotter pin in this nut, by the way. I mean, it's a Castle nut for a reason. I took it off with my little crescent wrench. It wasn't even very tight. Anyway, so I'll show you a little trick to get these out, what I consider the easy way. So right on your pitman arm, where the tie rod goes through, you want to hit your pitman arm with your hammer as hard as you can. The least amount of times as possible, because slamming it like that isn't the greatest thing for the power steering box. But we don't need that one anyway. But I would do it even if it was my vehicle, even if it was brand new. This is exactly how I would take it off. Comes right out. No damaged threads. Bolt it right back on because we need it. No silly pickle fork tool. Another good way to do it, I didn't want to hook up my air line and drag it over here, is just get out your air chisel with a blunt end, not a chisel end, and just hammer on this. Easy. Let's get that box out. Look at this up in the air. See if we can't weasel it out of there. just like that. So Redneck Ram, make sure you keep their box. Keep the cardboard box and packaging and your factory steering box. All this gets sent back. Greg told me what the core was and it was a ridiculous price. I don't remember it, but I went, so keep the packaging, return the box. It's always nice to keep your box, but if you gotta let it go, you're gonna have to let go of your box. It's okay. There's new boxes. When you put your new box in, never hurts to clean the old hardware. You never know when you're gonna have to take this back out. So, I mean, this is a pretty simple kit as far as the steering box goes. I mean, I haven't started to tackle the RAM yet, but I mean, it's 2 weld-on tabs. Find the center stroke of the RAM. Mark out where your brackets go. Weld them on. Bolt the heims on. Anyway, the instructions are pretty short for this. They're pretty well laid out too. Redneck Ram does a good job. Don't use cinder blocks, you rednecks. Good quote. Anyway, we'll get this up here. Always good to start all your hardware by hand. Make sure nothing's behind your steering box, no electrical wires or nothing. And you don't just run them hard with your impact. Impacts are taking things off. Yeah, check them all. When your shoulder pops, it's like a click torque wrench. That's how you know it's tight. Click, click. Installed. We need this pitman arm off this old steering box we just took out of the Jeep. This probably would have been a little easier to do when it was still in the Jeep. I don't know how good this is on here. I don't know if it's press fit or what, but let's find out. You just give your box some good hits. This is why it would have been easier in the vehicle instead of mounted in a vise. I guess I should have hit it with my purse from the beginning. Anyway, I'm gonna go get my pitman arm. We'll get it on the Jeep. Do this while it's still in the vehicle. It will be easier. Trust me. Alright guys, we gotta get rid of Greg's Falcon steering stabilizer. This thing's pretty cool. It's got different settings. I've never seen a steering stabilizer with different settings. Although I haven't been involved in the wheeling world in years. But we'll get this out of here. I'm not sure how it comes off on this end. We gotta teach Greg how to put cotter pins in things, apparently. Because they're missing all over the place. It's bad. I don't even think Greg has 100 miles on this thing. On this Falcon steering stabilizer. It's really cool though. I might try and get it off of them. I don't know what I'd use it for. To stabilize something. Probably won't help stabilize my life, I'm sure. Oh, whoops. Slightly used. Okay, so that's how that comes out. This is Redneck's Ram. It doesn't come painted or anything, which, I mean, this is everything you need and nothing you don't. Their kit is very reasonably priced for all the stuff it has in it, and so far it's a quality kit. There's nothing wrong with it. But this Ram's gonna sit back in here. Hydraulic lines. So yeah, I'm gonna read some more instructions before I go any further. All right, guys, we got our parts. I read some more instructions. Never hurts to read your instructions as many times as leave your phone when you go to the bathroom. Take your new instructions. You don't want to ruin $1,000 worth of shit, stuff, junk, or no, yeah, junk to put on our stuff. Don't want to ruin it. So the next step is assembling the Ram. Let's assemble it. All right, guys, working on the Noticon. We got the Ram put together. We got some mock-up nuts instead of the pinch nuts it came with. The pinch nuts are really nice, but you're gonna wanna take this cylinder on and off a few times without struggling with the pinch nuts. So, mock-up hardware, important. So Redneck Ram recommends installing the body of this cylinder next to the differential, but this being a Jeep, this differential is really narrow. So, it's just not gonna fit in here. When you turn the shaft of this, will hit the track bar bracket and ruin your day. It's gonna ruin your day. And putting it on this side of the differential, the body is gonna hit the diff. So you're gonna ruin your cylinder, and it probably has enough power to crush this case and ruin your day even further. That's not a fun wheeling trip. We're trying to have fun. So we're gonna put the body of it on the track bar bracket. We're gonna get our tabs welded to the track bar bracket. It's nice and sturdy, it's all gusseted. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up. We'll get these tabs tacked on here, tack welded, just tack welded, we're mocking up. So we'll tack weld these tabs on here, and then next step is gonna be to figure out half of this stroke and get it laid out on our tie rod. We'll tack these brackets on. We'll turn everything back and forth, make sure it operates smoothly, and make sure it's not gonna hit anything, and make sure we're not bottoming out our Ram one way or another. Redneck Ram has left plenty of room for adjustment. They left the threaded side of the shaft long, so you can cut it if you need to. I don't think we'll need to. I mean, you can if you make a mistake. Mistakes happen. It's always good to leave yourself some room for mistakes. So, we'll get this welded on here, tack welded, and then go from there. All right, we got our bracket all cleaned up. Track bar bracket. We're gonna weld those tabs to it. I just want to point out a couple things when you're getting ready to do this. So these heim joints, I mean, they have some misalignment and whatnot, but there's no reason to waste any of it. So when we put the body of the cylinder on the track bar bracket, we can weld this at, you know, whatever height we're gonna weld it at. But I'm gonna weld it so it matches the height on the tie rod, so this cylinder is perfectly parallel with this track bar bracket. This is gonna be turning, this is gonna be going in and out. These ears go the other direction, so you have more misalignment in this. You need that misalignment for when this turns. Ouch. The cylinder is going to get, the end of it will get further out and closer to the diff as this turns. So, I just want to tell you guys, just run this stuff parallel with this. Try and, you know, don't waste any of your misalignment just mounting it. You need to save that to turn. So, I'll get this tacked in here. I need to turn the welder on. They're always trying to weld without the ground or weld with it off. Be nice to have another pair of hands doing this, but I only have two. Now remember, you're just tacking it on here. This is mock-up. You guys hear my bottle do that? Listen when I stop welding. What is that? You hear that high-pitched noise? Just started doing that the other day. You do need sufficient tacks though, so it doesn't break when you're trying to adjust it. So our next step is going to be to pull this out. Probably have to pull these caps off here. So we're going to mark full travel. We need to turn these brackets around. It's that easy. Okay. So we need to mark with a marking utensil that I don't have. Full length and full retract. I'm going to use the center of this bolt to do that. Or maybe even the back of these tabs. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to use the tabs. I won't have to measure down from here. So we'll mark here, push it all the way back in, and then mark again. But I got to go find my Sharpie. I just spend half my day walking around here looking for stuff. Never enough tools. Okay guys, listen up. We're only doing this once. Especially if you didn't just tack weld those on like you were supposed to. We're gonna set up this ram onto the tie rod. At this point, your pitman arm's already on, your drag link's already on, your steering wheel's in the middle. You went up there and checked already, I'm sure you did. So, you want to collapse this all the way in. Get your Sharpie. Mark the tab with it collapsed all the way in. Extend it all the way out. Make another mark. Then you're going to measure that distance, which should be around 6 inches. Okay. You're going to want to mark a center mark on that. I've left room on the front, the back of this cylinder, the tie rod. I've left myself room for adjustment. And on this heim joint, I've left room for adjustment. So you're going to want to get yourself a center mark. And that is where you're going to tack weld, we're tacking these tabs on. Once those are tack welded, you're gonna cycle the steering and make sure nothing interferes with nothing. I don't like it. This is why you tack weld things. In fact, we're just going to do this one side, cycle the steering. Make sure it doesn't interfere with your differential. Your drag link's not hitting the cylinder. You're going to have your hydraulic lines coming off of here. Make sure your fittings aren't hitting anything. Make sure you're hitting your bump stops. Looks good. I'll get it welded and we'll get the hoses in place. This is why we've tacked everything. With this cranked all the way to the left. And the tie rod pushed all the way back because all of this moves. The head of the bolt runs into the diff cover. If this were my vehicle, I'd be tempted to leave it because I'd keep an eye on it. But this isn't mine and I don't want it to fail on Greg in the middle of the woods and have him cussing my name. So, I'm going to move it a little bit forward so he can cuss me out about his bumper, I guess. Yeah. So we'll get this broke off here. Now that you've got your ram all mocked up, everything's tack welded in place, and you've cycled the steering. It won't work with the JIC caps on here. You've cycled your steering. Got everything where you want it. We're going to weld these tabs on. Before you do that, you're going to uninstall your cylinder. Because remember, we don't want to ruin our parts while we install them. We want to ruin them while we use them. So, you're going to remove this. You're going to remove this. Remove the heim joints from the ram. Reinstall the heim joints in between these tabs. Fully weld out these tabs. Leave the heim joints in them until they are cool to the touch. And then you can remove them, reinstall your ram, and then we're going to put on the lines. So, I'm going to get this out of here. We'll get it welded up. And we'll move on. Move on to the lines. Greg's itching to go wheeling. So am I. Alright guys. Now it's fully welded. Before you take any of this stuff out, you want it to cool all the way down to the touch. All the way down. And then remove it. So just do something else for a while. Go watch some of my videos and subscribe to my channel. Okay, it says the port on the passenger side of the ram, in most applications, 90%. The port on the top will go to the passenger side of the ram, so this side. These are going to be tricky to route in a safe spot. Alright, lines are on. I went straight off the cylinder. No 90s, no nothing. this hose, one hose seems a little long since they're both the same length and come from the same spot, but I mean, that's just me being picky, I think. You can always have a new hose made. Your local napper or whatever will make you one. But we just got to bleed it and it's done. This is Redneck Ram. Good job. It's a nice kit. It was an easy install. So, I highly recommend putting the factory power steering lines on while the box is not bolted to the frame. Well, I removed it just to get them back on. I fought it for over an hour before I gave up. So yeah, we just got to fill it full of fluid, bleed the system, and then we're just waiting on Greg's 37s. I got to fix his bumper. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again.